America's workforce. Its strength is our nation's success. Join Ronnie Spellman on I Build America podcast as we explore innovative solutions and inspiring stories from leaders and workers shaping America. Discover actionable insights to build a motivated workforce.
Welcome to the I Build America podcast, a podcast where we talk about challenges and successes within the workforce industry. Our goal is to make sure that businesses, industries, and workforce development industry are optimizing success. Now, how do we create jobs and opportunities for people? How do we find people and connect them with jobs? And so we have with us Jessica Bartnick. Jessica Bartnick is the founder and CEO of Foundation For C.H.O.I.C.E, which is a really innovative program. You work with high school students, helping to prepare them for whatever comes next, whether they go to college or in their career. I think you mostly focused on getting them college ready. But you work in an area that a lot of the students don't go to college. But welcome to I Build America.
Hi, and thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You are definitely building America by getting these kids ready to build careers that are productive. But tell us about your program. And before you do, Jessica, I've been around your program. I just want the listener to know I've attended a couple of meetings, met at the high school. I've spoken at your events with the students. And what you've done is, it's intriguing. You and I had a conversation about this before. I've been around the country and seen a lot of programs, and the programs are okay. They're marginal.
Yeah.
But you're making a difference. Yeah. You're building a wonderful program within that educational space. You're not a teacher, you're a business entrepreneur, you're a marketing genius and expert, but you're building a space in your not-for-profit business that's making an impact.
Yeah. It's been so inspiring. We're 11 years old right now.
Nice.
And it's just one of those things where I woke up one morning, I believe God speaks to us in our sleep. And are you going to listen to it? Or are you not going to listen to it? Completely up to you. But I had an idea to start this nonprofit organization to help these kids get into college and learn career skills. We match every single one of our students with a business similar to what they want to study in college. I mean, everything from a children's theater to a hospital.
Wow.
And we give them, let's talk about workforce development, right? We teach them, they have 3 phone calls with this business person. And it's what skills you need for my job, how to handle conflict in the workplace, because especially when we're talking about these kids from different communities, really any kids from any community today, because the way they are going to handle conflict in their environments is going to be very different than the way they need to handle it in a workplace. So we try to teach them those skills. And then a mock interview, which is really important, obviously. Like, how can you answer questions on the fly, right? And then they get to go to these companies and have a professional experience and see multiple different departments and just kind of see, this is what a college degree can provide me and why I should go this route.
That is so cool. And you're working with, I know you mentioned the program is designed for any and every kid, but you are working with kids in the city of Dallas that might not have exposure to some of those topics and information and interactions with jobs. And I think that's what makes it special, is that you're bringing something to them that they might otherwise get.
Yeah. We're growing in rapid bounds right now. I mean, we're going to have multiple different districts in North Texas. We're moving to South Texas. We're expanding kind of regionally, nationally. This program, I would say COVID's kind of like the pivotal moment in everything, right? COVID.
Now you had like before COVID and after COVID.
Right, it's like BC. Right.
Right.
Little different meaning, but BC and NAC, right? But yeah, so like, it's just unbelievable what education has experienced since COVID.
Yeah.
And these kids have changed, and they need programs and impact greater than ever before, especially these kids from these communities that we serve.
Right.
Because they're growing, and these are the future of our workforce.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you. When you had me attend, this has been some years ago, right around COVID, we visited a high school. And I remember speaking, I don't remember the numbers directly, but I remember speaking to the principal about the student population. And he mentioned that a lot of them were minorities. Most of them tend not to go to college. And then a lot of those that go to college don't make it through college because their families, they don't have the support in their family structure. And so a program like yours is just so vital. And then I spoke at an event where you took the students to a fancy restaurant so that they can experience what it's like to be in that environment, what it looks like as they start to build their careers. And I think you mentioned this to them. You'll have luncheons in these restaurants. How do you engage with someone in the business sector at a nice restaurant? What does it look like? What does the table settings look like? How do you approach someone? How do you engage with someone? So it's really neat. But you also have some really unique and valuable partnerships.
Yes.
With some major companies, these global companies, that you're helping them to build programs that support these students. But tell us about any of those that you can mention by name or at least by scope and what the program looks like for these students.
Yeah, I mean, to your first point, 14% of low-income students graduate college.
Wow.
That's essentially 9 out of 10 that drop out.
Wow.
That's unacceptable. So that is exactly what we're changing. We've flipped those numbers with our students. Only 14% of ours are dropping out of college or going and doing something else. Maybe college isn't right for them, military, career skills, whatever it is. But we're changing that. And we've impacted thousands of students in 11 years. So that's a huge impact, and we're growing. It's time.
Right.
But yeah, so we have hundreds of corporations that we've worked with, especially that we match our students with, large, small, global, amazing. And so they've reached out to us even on different scopes and learned that we kind of are the experts in youth mentoring, and tried to, one, get our kind of best practices, right? Like, how do we build youth mentoring? How do we build internal mentoring within our organization? Right? Because that's important, especially for new employees, young employees that come in. What kind of support are they getting internally so we keep them and we don't have high turnover?
Right.
And then we have large corporations where we've built youth mentoring programs for them, starting in 7th grade all the way to and through career.
Right.
And that has been so impactful and inspiring. We work with universities who are trying to help build elementary age kids.
Okay.
Because once you understand kind of the environment and kind of the life of these students, you can get them from cradle to career and really be able to impact and change their lives.
What was the inspiration in creating a mentoring program for you? And now, how do you go from that inspiration and that vision? I know you mentioned that, so you kind of learned it through sleeping, but how do you start it, and how do you get to your level already? And there are programs that have been around for decades, and you started, and you're working with, again, a global Fortune 50 level company. They're billions and billions of dollars around the world, and they have a huge investment across the United States. As a major company, but you're now working with them. You've been working with them for years to build their program. But why mentoring for kids? What was that inspiration? And then how did you build it? Because I know there's so many groups that I see struggling as nonprofits after decades of being in business, either from a funding perspective, from a leadership perspective and having the right talent to build the programs, and from an innovation perspective. You've got all three of those mapped out well. You're very innovative in your program such that it succeeds extremely well.
Yeah. So we are a very intricate program. There are a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
And that's because it works.
Right.
I have a curriculum that I wrote in 2017. Well, wrote it before 2017, but we received our copyright in 2017. Oh, wow. And so every single mentor that volunteers with our organization has this curriculum. We have an app. All the curriculum's housed on the app. And it doesn't matter the age or stage of the mentor. They can help these kids achieve the success that these students want to receive. So that right there in and of itself is why we're successful, because we've mapped out this program to where there is zero reason why anyone will not succeed, which is unbelievable. But, I was in the corporate world for about 10 years, and I was in medical sales management, and I will never say the name of the company or the products. But, I just had an aha moment at one of our sales conferences where they're talking about a certain product that's going to just rise in value over the next couple of years because obesity rates are going to rise. And I'm not kidding you. Everyone in this room stood up, and I'm the only one sitting down. And I'm just like, we are capitalizing on people's inabilities to, quite frankly, have any self-discipline. And so that was kind of the beginning to my end in corporate America. And I started volunteering. I needed to fulfill something I was missing. Started volunteering at some high schools. And I just started asking questions of these girls, these high school, second semester, senior year girls. Hey, what did you get on your SAT? Oh, I haven't taken it. What about, have you applied for college? No, not yet. But they knew what they wanted to do. They knew who they wanted to be. They were so much smarter than me at that age.
Right.
And I just said they're missing just that basic knowledge and the resources to achieve whatever it is that they want, because they totally can. They just need.
No, they needed a little push. So what's intriguing, though, you're not an educator, as you mentioned, you're business break, so you don't have a PhD in curriculum development.
I don't even have an MBA.
And so, but yet you created a program. You didn't create a committee or commission to study it for 5 years before you launched.
No.
You just did it.
Yeah.
What made you think, one, you could just do it? And two, how did you build a curriculum, have it copyright, and then build an app to support it? Like, that's a lot to do. You've been in business 10 years, but it's not like it took you 10 years to create where you are today.
Yeah.
You did it relatively quick, and you've had 10 years of proven success.
Yeah. I mean, just probably crazy brain, right? Like, how do you just go? You don't question yourself. You just do it. I did have a lot of people tell me, Jessica, don't start a nonprofit. There's so many nonprofits out there. And to me, that's just more motivation.
Yeah.
That's just them saying, don't do it. I'm like, I'm going to show you. I'm going to get this done. And so it's just been, what drives it, just probably inability to think that it won't work.
Yeah. Yeah. How many kids do you think you've touched? Now, I'm not sure how many you have in the program, but just to give some perspective, I looked at your website, and your success numbers that you demonstrate on your website is just incredible. I've looked at your annual report, which is just incredible to see the numbers. But talk us through some of what that is, to give someone out in the middle of the country perspective on what you've been able to do.
So our app is unique because we have additional resources on our app than just curriculum.
Okay.
Our staff is uploading 10 new scholarships every single week. Because one of the number one reasons why a low-income student will drop out of college is the inability to pay for it.
Wow.
You get accepted to UT, right? And it's like, oh, it's going to cost.
So real quick, though, so you have the programs and curriculum for them while they're in high school, and now you have a college scholarship program as well?
Oh, we've got, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We've got a lot. And so our students are averaging over $60,000 each in college funding.
Oh, my gosh.
We have our first Ivy League student. He just got a 4-year full ride to Cornell.
That is incredible.
Yeah. And I think we have another one this year that's going to go to Vanderbilt.
Amazing.
So it's changing lives. We've changed thousands of students since 2014.
Wow.
Thousands, which means we've had thousands of volunteers who have mentored these students, because we couldn't do it without them.
Right.
Like, the students need the impact, but without the mentors, none of this would be possible. And these people are just amazing humans who want to give back.
One of the programs that I think changed my trajectory and understanding of the world was Junior Achievement when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you're doing something similar, but is broadened even more. I think it was in my junior year of high school, I was connected with them, and they taught us how to create a business and sell our product. And we had a mentor that volunteered from private sector, worked in shipbuilding. And it was hugely impactful. And I can only imagine what the kids are getting. Having, as I mentioned, experienced some of your program, you're doing more than I got when I was a junior in high school. And I can only imagine how these students are evolving and growing and learning through what you're providing them access to.
Yeah. I mean, even the professionals that are mentoring them, because all the mentors are business professionals. And a lot of these corporations now are wanting to have volunteerism as part of retaining employees. So that's really what we're providing these corporations also is, hey, let's get your employees involved in a volunteer activity.
Well, talk to me about that partnership, because you're right on. It's more than just the students learning, the businesses are learning. They're also creating a potential pipeline with these students so that they can hire the next engineer or the next senior leader or the next operator or the next forklift driver. But they're creating access, and from the business perspective, to young people that are learning early who they are, but these students are also learning valuable skills as they prepare to enter the workforce. But what does that partnership look like? Like, why would a business want to do it? When I look at workforce development, it's not just about finding a job for someone. It's about creating this ecosystem in these relationships between business and government and policymakers and nonprofit organizations to create the system.
Yeah, it's all entwined into one, right? So these corporations, a lot of them require their employees to give back and volunteer. And just to your point, it's because they want to retain them. No one wants turnover. Turnover suffers, right?
Yes. That's the cost to it. A lot of people don't understand the cost. Yeah.
Huge cost. And so they give them these opportunities. Plus, you're walking into these massive campuses with 2-story gyms and Starbucks and a CVS, right? It's at a doctor's office. It's different with open seating.
Right.
And now you get to leave campus and go and volunteer somewhere and help someone. This is amazing. Right. And that's really what a lot of these corporations are really starting to do.
And your partnership, so in your partnership, you have these businesses, but on the school side, they're coordinating with you well, and they're busing the kids because they recognize the value in getting the kids to these locations. Not everyone has their own transportation from a student perspective, but they're busing the kids to these businesses for you.
Yeah, we've become the liaison between corporations and kind of schools.
Nice.
Because it's hard sometimes to bridge that gap.
Right.
Corporations have a different expectation, different level of, careerism. That's a word. I just made up a word, I think. And then you have educators, right? And it's very different. And so we're able to bridge that gap and provide access to the schools and maintain those relationships with the schools and the educators that maybe these corporations wouldn't be able to do on their own.
Right.
And so that's what we're able to really provide to them. And then they have other nonprofits that they work with. And because our program works so well, we have great relationships in the schools.
Nice.
And so let's say massive corporation A says, hey, Jessica, we have this other nonprofit that we work with, but they cannot get any traction with this school. Can you help introduce them and build that relationship? So we've become an invaluable partner.
And how often are the students going to the company site?
Normally twice a month.
Okay.
Busing them from school like a field trip.
Okay. And then they're staying for a while and kind of learning the environment. Mm-hmm. I ask because I've spoken with a number of organizations across the country, and a lot of these schools or districts may not have the resources to facilitate the busing process. And you have, on any one of these trips, you have, 100 students going at once?
Oh, yeah.
To these campuses, these business campuses, which is just gigantic. It's not like 2 or 3 kids going. It's a big group of people. Right. That are going to learn. But a lot of schools might not have the resources, but they need to find a way because it's so important in getting students the exposure to these businesses.
Yeah, it is. The corporations will pay for the transportation, and then we provide lunch.
Okay.
Corporation that helps. Spends a lot of money on it for sure. And it's 2 charter. We're not sending school buses. We're sending 2 charter buses to the school to bring, which is also a different experience.
So you've taken that to the next level then from the transportation piece even.
We really have. Yeah.
And that's critical. I know that so many internship programs at high schools may not achieve success because, like I mentioned, these students can't get there. Their parents don't have the flexibility to maybe take them during the middle of the day for an internship. And they lean on the schools to help in that process. But your businesses are paying for that transportation.
They do.
That is incredible.
They definitely do. It's important.
What's next for you? What's next for the program? Like, what's next on your list of items to achieve? The fact that your students are getting on average $60,000 for college is just huge.
Yeah, it is. It's time to grow. We had a 5-year plan kind of pre-COVID.
Right.
And then, COVID changed education, and it's time to get back to that. And I feel like the schools are ready and prepared for it again. Okay. It was a hard transition back to work. And I think even corporations are requiring their employees to come back to the office right now, which is, I think, critical and very important. But yeah, it's time to grow. It's time to change the lives of these kids in other communities. And so next school year, we already are launching into 2 different states and 1 region in Texas.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So if you were speaking to another nonprofit across the country, and there are, I'm sure, thousands that are focused on the student mentoring piece, the high school mentoring piece, what advice would you give them? I've been a mentor and a board member for an organization that provides mentoring. And I've sat in, and it's interesting. I would reserve time every year so that we can interview students. We would take them through the mock interviews. And it was a great experience for me, one, learning the students, and then also thinking through what advice can I give their young mind that would make sense. And then I spent a lot of time coaching them on the experience that they had in high school, like being the manager on a sporting team, or being the lead in their newspaper, or the editor of their newspaper, or writer in the news. How do you elevate it? How do you elevate it so that the employee can understand what your role was and then understand your potential value?
Yeah.
But on the other end, I've seen some students with resumes that needed a lot of help. And I was so disappointed that the teacher didn't give them that guidance, because they were supposed to help them along that process, and they didn't. So there's so many programs and mentoring programs across the country. What advice would you give in building the level of success that you've been able to achieve, working with a population of students that need the guidance, working with school district, working with businesses? What advice would you give them on building a good program?
Yeah, and I don't want to talk badly about any nonprofit, but taking a student to a game or just reading them a book, that's not enough.
I agree.
And so you have to have a program that is intricate, and there's a lot of moving pieces, which requires a different level of staff to be able to manage. But you have to have these pieces to the puzzle.
Right.
Because if you're just sitting down and meeting with a student once a year and thinking you're going to change their life, that's not going to work. And yes, your impact numbers look better, and grantors love to see larger impact numbers, but your actual impact is not great.
That's fascinating. So I used to serve on the fund distribution, right out of college. I served on the fund distribution committee for the United Way, and we spoke a lot about the grants that we awarded and then measuring their impact. And since then, some 30 years later being in the workforce, I recognize that you can kind of massage numbers. And it sounds like what you're saying is that on some, and I've seen this as well, some of those grants, you can touch a lot of people, but it doesn't necessarily show that you're meeting your goal of changing their lives by giving them a workforce opportunity. Yeah. And you're really focused on the outcome. Like, you focus on making sure that they succeed, not just that you touch them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So in Dallas this year, we might have 300 students in the program.
Wow.
Which is a lot, right?
That is.
However, if you're reading a book to a class once a week, you've impacted 1,000 this year, or over 1,000, right? But you really haven't impacted anything.
Correct.
Where we're actually changing lives, and we're meeting with these students once a week for an entire school year, plus another year on, and then holding on to them while they're in college and helping them land a career. So it's definitely an interesting concept.
With the app, is that something that they continue to use after they've graduated from your program and moved on?
Yes, and we actually have resume templates on there to help them actually build a resume. Essay workshops, SAT workshops. I mean, we're developing the whole student.
That is incredible. So even while they're in college, and let's say they're getting ready to graduate from college, they still have access to this app that they can use to help them. Because at that point, they're still probably learning how to refine their resume, so they still likely need guidance. That is incredible.
Yeah. And we have mentors for them also to even help refine it. I mean, we had one student, to your point, teachers, everything. So applying for scholarships and receiving scholarships is a numbers game.
Right.
If you apply for 10 or fewer, the likelihood of you receiving any is slim. If you apply for 10 or more, the likelihood of you receiving a scholarship becomes greater and greater and greater. Okay. We had one student who applied for 25 scholarships. He got $0. Right. And we were like, what is going on? We read his essay, run-on sentences, grammatical errors. He never had a teacher really help him, right? And so then we started adding essay writing workshops. So we literally we get the whole student, that whole ecosystem of the student to make sure they're successful.
That is amazing. Anything else you'd like to add on the workforce development, what you're seeing nationally, especially given your expansion? I presume you picked some areas that you know there's a need as you expand beyond Texas, but anything that you've identified that is worth our listener understanding?
Yeah, I think, before COVID or during COVID, right? I always hate to go back to it, but it was pivotal, right? It was easy to have your employees work at home or work remotely.
Right.
They could live in different cities and still work, but there was nothing to do because everything was closed.
Right.
So today, everything's back on. There's so much to do. Productivity isn't as good as it was.
Sure.
I think getting everyone back into the office is key.
Right.
And we've seen it with the programs that we have built for specific corporations, that now that the employees are getting back into the office, they're becoming more active in these programs again as well. And I think it's critical to get the staff back.
Are you seeing that in those new markets that you're finding companies that are willing to invest in the program like you found in Texas as well?
Yes, and it's even some of the corporations that we work with here that want us to expand with them.
Fantastic.
So we're going to expand the program with them and then expand ours alongside.
And that's a huge vote of success and appreciation for what you've done. When they start to take you to other markets, it shows that they like what your outcomes are.
We had the CEO of this corporation come to an event where it's amazing and they love it.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, and a lot of these corporations, because they are stopping to fund some certain programs, ours is gaining more and more momentum.
Oh, so they're moving now other projects to you. Just that is incredible, Jessica.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your success. I am amazed every time I speak with you to see what you're doing and how you're doing it. So Jessica Bartnick, founder and CEO of Foundation for Choice, making an impact in high schools across not just Texas now, but multiple states.
Yeah.
And working to build partnerships with the private sector and other organizations across the country. So congratulations on your success. So if you haven't had a chance to check them out, definitely look at the Foundation for Choice and really understand their model and what they're doing to create a workforce within the U.S.
Yeah, we're happy to come to your area.
So Jessica, thanks for joining us. America, keep working hard and let's make every day a great day.
Thank you for listening to the I Build America podcast. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and be sure to join us next time for more insights and inspiring conversations on building a powerful American workforce. I Build America, building workforce success one podcast at a time.